Hey, what's up guys, aarava here, and welcome back to the episode of my F1 2019 career mode, episode number 94 today for the Austrian Grand Prix in Season 5. If you guys did miss the previous one at the French GP, then be sure to go check that one out before you see this one. Heading into this episode then, though, we had two upgrades pending on the fuel consumption and front downforce. Thankfully, though, those have both come in for us then. So, Austria, a bit of a power track, so the fuel consumption will be very important, but also I feel like we needed some front downforce as well, because at the French GP, obviously that was very similar to Canada, very flat circuit. Austria, higher speed corners. You've also got Silverstone coming up next, the British Grand Prix, and that will definitely need some higher downforce there. So I think working towards that, because obviously that's the biggest part of the car we have left off to upgrade already. We've only got one or two upgrades left on the engine side of things. Thankfully, it's going to be all dry here for Austria, although it may be quite overcast when we come through. But looking at the R&D graph then, with those two minor upgrades, closing up a little bit there to Racing Point, and generally speaking, the entire grid, you can see the general trend from the Australian Grand Prix till now, closing up there, and the fuel spread getting smaller and smaller, which is only a good thing for us. If we're right in the thick of the battle, basically it means that there's maybe less time to find those extra few positions in qualifying and even the race, really, as we've seen so many times. Clean air and not being caught up in battles basically too much is been so crucial to being successful in this season so far. Season 5, obviously, long way since Season 1 in terms of how the kind of races play out then. So let's go to qualifying then. Let's see how we do over one lap on Saturday and see how we can line up for the grid.
Thank you for joining us once again for today's qualifying session. Sit back, relax, and enjoy what we hope will be a fantastic contest for pole position. When it comes to getting lap time out of this circuit, it's traditionally been about maximising top speed. Do you simply remove as much downforce as possible, hang on in the corners and max out down the straights?
Top speed is a key factor for this circuit. Even if you can achieve the same lap time as someone running less wing than you, chances are you'll find overtaking difficult if you have too much drag.
We seem to be having some software issues at the moment. Sit tight for a few minutes while we reboot some things, okay?
So not the most ideal start then to qualifying then with an electrical system fault, so that's going to take us 4 minutes to get resolved in Q1, but no matter then, eventually we'll be on our way onto our first flying lap. Like I said, overcast conditions, so the track may be a little bit cooler, so that may affect things in terms of the tyre temps, the way they heat up into the hairpin, getting a little bit wayward there down to first gear, trying to get the nose turned in, but the rear end stepping out somewhat. So I have a feeling we might need a few laps here, because like I alluded to, with higher downforce corners here at Austria compared to the French GP in Canada, I think our car's going to struggle a little bit more than we did at France and Canada to get up to speed, basically. I mean, it takes me anyway, like maybe 2 laps to get to grips with things, but you can see here, going for some more flying laps at the end, 1 minute to go, and that third flyer getting held up a little bit there by, I think that was a Toro Rosso or Williams car. We got a bit of a toe off him, but also got held up equally in the corner, but threw down that across the finish line for the third time in this session, eventually popping a lap time up into P12. By the end of the session, though, it'll be down to P14, but we still make it through, but just by the skin of our teeth, both myself and Russell there, only about, 1/10 off being knocked out in Q1. So clearly, I think compared to France, I mean, we still have Q2 to go, and remember at France we also had a very close shave in Q1, so let's see if Q2 is any better. But it seemed, generally speaking, feeling wise as well, I think the car's gone a little bit backwards here at Austria compared to France, but it was always going to come. I think always there was going to be a case where a few tracks would suit our car better than others, as it always does in real life Formula 1 as well. So here we go now for a one and only flying lap in Q2, because I used 2 sets of softs in Q1, so we only have 1 set left in Q2 here. So we waited to the middle of the session, all clear track, a little bit of an issue through the last corner, a bit of understeer from the curb there. We go across the line for P9 there, Russell P10. So as it stands right now, we would have made it through into the top 10 shootout, but by the end of Q2, other people go faster. We're down to P11, Russell all the way down to P14 there, so a bit of disappointment for him, and we're so close to the top 10 shootout, but I guess that's almost one of the best positions to be in, because we get a free choice of tyre tomorrow, and we're as high as you can be with that choice, essentially. So let's see. The French GP opened up some real possibilities for us having a free choice of tyre, so let's not complain about that. Austria, I'm not too sure. The one stop pretty much should be possible on every compounded tyre, no matter what you start on, but never say never, really. So let's just see how it goes on Sunday. So let's go to the grid and see how we do.
What a beautiful backdrop to a motor race. We're here in the Styrian Mountains, of course, and they've watched over some cracking races throughout the history of this Grand Prix. Controversy, of course, think back to 2002, but also great joy. Do you remember Niki Lauda's historic home victory in 1984? The Spielberg circuit then is situated 700 metres above sea level, with just 10 corners making up one of the shortest laps of the season. One time around here is a distance of 2.6 miles, with the best overtaking chances into turn 1 or the tight uphill turn 3. Anthony Davidson, thanks for joining me once again for the Grand Prix. They've had to retire a couple of times in the last few races. What can you tell us about the reliability of their car?
I think they can be fairly pleased with that record so far. The first thing any good car needs is a solid, reliable base with which to build on, and they seem to have that this season.
Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting race. Lewis Hamilton lines up on pole position, edging out Sergio Perez, who lines up P2. As we continue through the rest of the grid today, we have Weber, Norris, Valtteri Bottas and Leclerc, Giovinazzi, Kvyat, the engineer and Kimi Raikkonen, Verstappen, Russell, Nico Hülkenberg and Gasly, Stroll, Vettel. They've taken a grid penalty. Kevin Magnussen and Roman Grosjean. Ricciardo and Devon Butler starts from the back of the grid. And with preparations almost complete, let's head down to the track.
Alright, so already our fortunes have changed slightly before we even start the Grand Prix. It was elevated up into P9 due to some people with some penalties there. So we're P9 inside the top 10 and we still have a free choice of tyres. And we will be switching this first strategy from the soft to medium to the other way around. We're going to start on the yellow wall medium tyre and then go on to the softs at the end. Be nice and aggressive at the end of this Grand Prix. If you think about it, basically, that's essentially what we did at the French GP. That worked out so well for us. I didn't actually realise that's what we did at the French GP when I was making this change at the start of this Grand Prix. Only in the middle of the Grand Prix did I realise this is effectively what we did last episode. That worked so well for us. But I really, when I did this strategy at the very start of the screen, it was more so just thinking that I think the medium tyre will be better at the start, be a bit more consistent once the tyre wear starts to kick in, because Austria is a little bit hard on its tyre, especially the middle sector is quite tricky. And then also being on the lower fuel, the end and the soft tyre just means we can really attack and pounce. And I think we're going to need that advantage because in the corners, I think we definitely are lacking compared to our rivals around us. So having that tyre advantage at the end, plus the fuel, I think that's going to be the best way about it to gain some positions here. But at the start, we may be a little bit iffy off the line, you know, having the slower tyre compared to others. But I think once the tyre wear kicks in for them around lap 11, I would say, that's when we can maybe make some gains there. So let's get into this then. From P9 on the grid, already gained 2 positions from where we qualified yesterday. Can we gain some more at the start here as we go to 5 red lights to the Austrian Grand Prix? Lights are out and we're underway. Initially a great getaway compared to the Alfa Romeo there, but then we bogged down straight away. The medium tyre versus the softs there. Russell with a massive dive down the inside to get 3 cars there. We've been pinched in and we've been hit by the other Alfa Romeo there. Gasly's got us on the right, Hülkenberg close behind there, and also the Renault, I think, of Verstappen or Weber has got us as well as Hülkenberg there on the right, trying to get us. We can't go to the right, we have to go to the outside there, and we're going to get boxed in by Raikkonen and Gasly there. The Renault is the one that kind of comes off better there, having a look at the inside of the Alfa there, but very, very awkward. You never want to really be on the outside there, especially on the opening lap of the Austrian Grand Prix, because everyone just goes so slow with the kind of domino effect there, and you basically just get that. You get boxed in and have nowhere to go. So we now find ourselves in P12 behind Kimi Raikkonen there. So that's probably one of the worst starts I've had so far this season. Probably not as bad as the Spanish Grand Prix, I would say, but up there, nearly matching it as we're losing 3 positions rather than getting anything. But that's just the medium tyre, I think, versus the softs there. You saw how quick Russell was. He gained 3 positions diving into turn 1. He's now lost them subsequently because he's now only just ahead of Raikkonen here. As we have a look on the outside of the Iceman there, my former teammate from seasons 1 and 2, but we get pinched out so badly that Gasly has now got us here. So this is turning into the Spanish Grand Prix in terms of how bad this start's been. We're down to P13 now, so we're just going down the order, and these guys are really swamping me on the soft tyres there. So it's now Gasly, Raikkonen, Russell ahead of us then, and so I don't know, also Russell losing 2 positions might allude to the fact that our car also may not be very quick. Finally, may this be a Grand Prix where the race pace just isn't there for this Ferrari. As we have a look at Gasly, instead of overtaking him, I have to watch him try and get the Alfa Romeo, but we make a beautiful little switchback work there, get the traction down earlier, but in a straight line. Looks like that Racing Point car's decent enough, but we do get a bit of a slipstream there off the Alfa. Going to have to go late on the brakes, try and squeeze him out there, go wide on purpose. Nice wide line up into P12 once again, squeeze Gasly out there to no end, and so we're up there in a position on lap number 5, but on now lap number 7, we're still in P12, caught up behind Kimi Raikkonen, and this is becoming a major frustration because off this corner, I'm getting some good traction initially, but then as we wind up the gears, that Alpha seems to be very, very quick in a straight line there. So clearly, even though I've compromised on my wings, I think I've ran 5.5, that Alpha is still so much quicker in a straight line there. So I'm not too sure what that would be. Maybe it's just got some good engine upgrades to it, or maybe I had to compromise even more, and that's obviously an issue with the aero. I can't compromise anymore because we don't have enough downforce to do that. So right now, very frustrating times being stuck behind the Iceman here, and the more this goes on for, the more frustrating it's going to be for later on in the Grand Prix, because although the Alpha is keeping us at bay, I feel like we are going to have better pace in clean air, basically. So we need to try and get past, but still lap 8 is still behind him, although Raikkonen very slow, and it's because of the other Alfa Romeo of Kvyat going very slow as well, ahead of George Russell there. So fine margins, but late lunge there from me down the inside. Yellow flags behind us now, so lucky I didn't get yellow flags as I overtook him there. And Kvyat out of the Grand Prix, so I think that was Dan Kvyat retiring, and he was going so slow, holding up Russell and Raikkonen, just allowed me to just pop one down the inside, catch him napping somewhat. And so we're up the order now, up into P10, chasing after Russell indeed now. So Ferrari v Ferrari, and medium tyre versus soft tyre. But of course now, as we get to a lap 11, maybe his tyres are going to be wearing out here. I might have an advantage here finally on the medium. And so you can see as we come through to the end of the sector, what a massive train of cars here. We're about 7 or 8 there, and Russell gets really held up. We get a good exit initially, but then he winds through a DRS open. We have DRS as well, though. Can we pull to the left-hand side? It's a massive dive, but we have to take avoiding action on the Renault of Verstappen there, and that will allow Russell to keep the move and keep the position in P9 there. If it wasn't for that Renault, I feel like we could have just about slowed the car down in time and kept it around the outside, but a lack of space to work with means we have to stay behind in P10. But you can just see now for sure the tyre wear is kicking in, and these mediums are now faster than the softs, and also this train is not helping Russell here. He's getting held up quite largely by Verstappen in the Renault, which is surprising to say because the Renault is one of the best cars on the grid on paper. But here we go now. It's a bit of aggressive move to the inside there, lock up on the front right, bit of a drift really through that right-hander to get the move done. But basically I just got so frustrated on lap 12. I feel like we definitely now have better pace than Russell, even though right now he's still on the back of me. I think once we get a chance to run in clean air, we are going to start pulling away from him there, and we can try and get on the back of this fight between Verstappen and Giovinazzi in the Haas F1 car. Down the inside, the Italian goes to defend, but Verstappen around the outside, a great move there on the outside. They're doing what I couldn't on Kimi Raikkonen, and Russell meanwhile still behind me, keeping up with DRS there. So I think the soft tyres just helping him in the corners. Meanwhile, Giovinazzi attacks the Renault, so the Haas showing some good pace, showing the improvements it has been making in the next few in the last few episodes. Now ahead of them, they've got 2x2 there, the 2 Toro Rossos, 2 McLarens, then Lucas Weber, and then in first place is a very dominant Lewis Hamilton at the moment, which will be not too great for the likes of myself and the 2 Renaults there in terms of the championship standings. But of course, really, it's early days for me. I'm not really thinking about the championship so far in the Ferrari, to be honest. We move on now to lap number 13. It's now very overcast here, so the clouds are forming over, so maybe the track will get a little bit colder. That may change some things. I don't know if it'll make the car any quicker or faster. I can't really tell, really, because the cars seem pretty slow in qualifying and the race so far, to be honest. So it's one of those races where it's maybe a slap back down to reality for the Ferrari team, because as it stands, all I've been fighting for is P9 so far in the first 13 laps. We come through now the last corner, and we've got some pit stops now finally here, so this is when I can try and make a march here in clean air and try and push on the mediums as we're up into P8 now of the GP, trying to close up to Verstappen, who continues on. Russell also continues on, to be fair, which is surprising, but now on lap 16, 2 laps later, he's finally made his pit stop. We've got 20 laps to go. I'm pitting around lap 20, but Verstappen and I think that's Valtteri Bottas, I think, yeah, in the Toro Rosso, still going on the soft tyres there, so they're taking those a while, and Bottas very slow indeed to the hairpin. We try it on the left-hand side again, like with Raikkonen, the Finn pinches us there. What is it with Finn drivers in that corner? They just don't want to give any room whatsoever there, but Verstappen with a late move, but that invited us to make a pass very late on, just couldn't make it stick really. But surprising bit of action there in P3 for P2 to P1, with Verstappen leading the way now in clean air. But of course, I'm hoping these two will get out of the way soon enough, and then we'll be up into P1, and that's exactly what will happen by the end of that lap. We're now in the lead of the Grand Prix, clean air now, and now we just try and do the best job we can of driving to the Delta time and going to the pit stop window, which is around lap 20 to 21. And in the meantime, whilst we're doing that, everything will shuffle out behind us there. So Hamilton, you can see in P2, so that'll be a net first place for him then, followed by Lucas Weber still behind him then, and I assume it'll be the 2 McLarens, and then one of the Toro Rossos, because of course the other one was attacked by Verstappen and myself. But we come in then on the end of lap 20 for a set of red wall soft tyres. So we were pretty slow at the start there. It was pretty uncomfortable being swamped by so many cars in the opening laps and having so much issue getting past the Alfa Romeo and my teammate as well. But I had got to hope that that was just the medium tyres on heavy fuel, and now on lower fuel on the softer compound, we can be the ones annoying everyone else basically, and we can try and push on and really try and attack people as we come out just ahead of the Haas of I think that's Giovinazzi there. So we've jumped him effectively because we didn't actually catch up to him before he made the pit stop there. So good stuff already done on that kind of overcut essentially on lap 21 up into P8. So we're where we were before, but you can see there a little bit cold tyres there, nearly going completely off at that corner, causing the issues that corner has, to be honest, under braking here. But as we move on through this Grand Prix as well, you may have seen here and there on the heads-up display, my gearbox was a little bit yellow on the menu on the bottom right. My team actually tell me my gearbox is going to suffer some issues there, so that may involve some missing gears. So we're going to have to also drive around those issues whilst also trying to use the tyres to good effect. But around this circuit, that may be an issue if like the middle gears start to go, you know, gear 4s, 5 and 6. We use them so often through the corners, so if those go, we're going to have some real tough times trying to get the car to actually bite in on the front end. But after initially being a little bit slow out the pit lane, then on lap 27, we're finally winding up the pace. You can see we've gone away completely from Giovinazzi, and we're closing up to this train of Valtteri Bottas, their tail end, and then you've got the McLarens in the middle, as well as the Renault Verstappen there. So can we try and gain these 4 positions? We'll be up in a very lofty P4. Let's see about that as we come through now. The last corner, a little bit wide on the curve there, taking some liberties through the final corner. They have a bit of a twitch of hose there. Open the DRS though, well within 1 second now, and also setting the fastest lap of the Grand Prix. I think I'm the only car actually in the top 10 on the soft tyre now, with less than 10 laps to go in this GP. So definitely going to be the fastest man on track for sure. And you can see the lap time's not lying about that. We're now on overtake mode. Our DRS there. Where is Bottas going to go? He defends to the middle of the circuit. Bit awkward. We go around the outside, and finally for the first time in this Grand Prix, a move around the outside works out for me there, and it's as smooth as you want actually there, because it seemed like it took no effort at all to actually rotate the car around the outside of the fin, and we're up into P7. But now ahead of us, you can see a side-by-side bit of action there between the Renault and McLaren there. Weber ahead of me, who was in P2, has actually had a mechanical issue, and that's why he's dropped down there. So it's Verstappen V1 the McLarens, and Weber now from P2 is down here defending P6 instead from me, and we're going to go around the outside of him and try and do a second move on the outside at the hairpin here at the end of sector 1, and it works out again. So like a few episodes ago, the around the outside move is working very well now for this Ferrari car on the tyre advantage we've got now. So we're now lining up Lando Norris maybe into sector 2. He's been overtaken by Verstappen there. He's on the hard tyres, I think that is. I think the white wall hard tyres. So we should have a big advantage actually, because that's 2 compounds difference there compared to Weber and Verstappen, who I believe are both on medium. So the McLaren team thinking they don't have the tyre wear to get through to the end of the Grand Prix. Maybe they pit a little bit earlier off the soft tyres there. Meanwhile, Hamilton in a world of his own, I still imagine, in first place there, especially since Weber had that issue with him there. As we come through the last 2 corners there, I haven't actually noticed I've lost 4th gear, and that loses the back end, and that sends us in a massive spin there through the last corner. And it's a huge mistake for us there. We've spun the Ferrari, and we've been hit by Giovinazzi as well. What on earth has the Italian done there? So now all our hard work has been undone now. We're down to P9 with maybe damage. I'm not too sure there. Definitely the Haas has some damage after hitting my rear end. But as we come through turns 1, then we lose the back end again, as I didn't realise how cooked my tyres were. Of course they would be after that quite high speed half spin. And you can see the tyre carcass temperature is really brick orange now. So we need to try and cool the rear tyres down before we really try and make some moves here. But we've been swamped by 3 cars with that little mini mistake on that straight. And we're down even more positions to P11 here. And that's all from that worn gearbox we got told about earlier from our engineer. Losing 4th gear through that last corner was so crucial, but now we send one down the inside of Sebastian Vettel, try to get Hulkenberg, because that is Giovinazzi there, remember, in the Haas, who's really slow, because I'm pretty sure he's got front wing damage off the back of hitting me there, so he's slowing up Hulkenberg so much, so we need to hit the back end of the German there, the Italian so, he goes off the circuit into the gravel trap, and we almost follow him there, as the car has still not got any grip. I mean, look at it, it's like watching a boat trying to go through on the solid ground here. So we're down to P14 now, as I'm pretty sure the tyres are still not cooled, and so Russell's up the order. I mean, I've lost now, what's that? We were in P8, looking at maybe overtaking 4 cars for P4. I'm now down effectively a kind of hypothetical 10 positions, down to P14 there, going around the outside of Romain Grosjean, trying to get these positions back. I mean, I've still got a tyre advantage. Once these tyres cool down, I will be faster than all these guys, just about the fact that I've only got 6 laps now left of this GP, and I've got so many cars to re-overtake as we now dive down the inside of Magnussen and Grosjean to get 2 positions in one corner, all the way up into P13 already. But now, can we try and get the remaining 3-4 positions to salvage some kind of points from this entire situation? And one of the worst mistakes I've made so far in this season ever in the Ferrari, really. It was maybe coming at some points, maybe going all too well, really, especially last episode. Some of you guys were saying that's not my best driving or strategy play I've done ever, so maybe it was coming at some point there, but it wasn't really even my fault. The gearbox just let me down there, no 4th gear, didn't even realise it, and as we went down the gears, the rear end's always going to snap out when it goes from 5th to 3rd and tries to skip too many gears, and so we're in this situation we're in now in P13, but now we've got a job to do, heads down, 4 laps to go, never say never in Formula 1, and can we try and get some points at least to get something from this GP? And to be honest, I'm pretty confident we can get these 4 positions. We're really tucked up quite close. They're fighting up ahead. Russell getting involved as well. We're now behind Ricciardo, both of us with DRS, but the Ferrari looking a little bit quicker in a straight line. We're going to go to the inside then, and we've got some fighting ahead of us. Can we try and just navigate this a little bit closely there as we get very close to the rear end of the Alfa Romeo, and look at who it is, Raikkonen once again. So let's hope Raikkonen doesn't give us too much of an issue like he did earlier on in the Grand Prix. In fact, I'm going to try and make sure that's definitely not going to be the case. So we send one on the outside, late lunge there, and watch this. There's going to be a great little battle between us 2 former teammates there. Him, the Alpha, me and the Ferrari, still side by side through this entire Sector 2 there, feathering the throttle there, and we're still neck and neck. We'll get it eventually punched through on the left-hand side there as we enter Sector 3 up into P11. So we're now 1 place off the points main positions once again. Russell's up in P9, so this can still be a double points main positions. Not obviously the high one we saw at the French GP, but points nonetheless as we come through now onto lap 33, and we've still got some ERS to use. We're down to none right now through the first corner, then we're going to bump it up to a hot lap mode, overtake mode engage, now DRS open, rich mix as well, so really playing around with all the buttons we can on the steering wheel, trying to maximise the performance through the corners and in the straight. We're going to just roll the car through around the outside, narrowly miss hitting the back of Russell there, but again waltzing through on the outside. So what could have been there? I mean, I'm making these positions look so easy now, so it really could have been such a sensational P4 for us there at one point, but alas, instead now we're chasing after our teammate, looking for P9 maybe, and maybe P8 as a maximum here as the Williams of Vettel continues on ahead of him. Again, we find ourselves on this main straight up into the end of Sector 1. Can we make a third move, maybe around the outside of this phase? And the GP is slow as he's held up behind Sebastian Vettel. We go for it. This time, Russell squeezes us to the outside there as our tyres bang, so Russell getting the elbows out there, so a little bit of love lost between the 2 teammates here in red, and we have to defend from Hulkenberg as well, but we're going to send it now down the inside, lay it on the brakes, bit of a drift as well for good measure, and a bit of deja vu really for me, as a very similar move to the one we made on Russell earlier on in the Grand Prix. But we're up into P9, got the job done. Unfortunately, we pushed him down into P11 as Hulkenberg got that position, but to be fair, at this phase of the GP now, after that spin and mistake, I pretty much had red mist in terms of just concentrating what I wanted to do rather than what the team could get in terms of both of us here. And so now we move on to lap 35, an aggressive swoop to the left-hand side on the straights, an easy overtake there. Thankfully, one of these overtakes is plain and simple in a straight line on Sebastian Vettel in the Williams, and we're up into P8 of this GP, basically where I was before the spin. So that was a very frustrating last part of the GP, pushing so hard, having to fight so hard just to get back to where we were basically pre-mistake. But obviously that's what happens in Formula 1, you get punished for it, and so my gearbox let me down a little bit, but also maybe could have caught the spin a little bit better perhaps. I don't know, you never know, you'll say a lot of things in hindsight. So we come through now. Lewis Hamilton, unfortunately for the championship, has won his second race of the GP there, so he'll extend his lead by a decent amount. We're going to just have to accept this situation and come home in P8 there and try and do better next time at our home GP.
Thank you for all your hard work out there. That was a strong drive and a good finish. Well done.
Yet another historic win under their belts. Well done to the team at Mercedes. Anthony Davidson, what helped them deliver this result, do you think?
Well, I honestly feel it was down to the driver and car today. I mean, we can talk driver skill all day, but if you don't have a solid team to back that, you're never going to get anywhere. When you hit that sweet spot of having both an excellent driver and an incredible car, that's when you see results like those we witnessed today.
Mercedes are on top form once again after an excellent race weekend. It's great to see them up on that podium once again.
So in the end, the podium's Lewis Hamilton from Leclerc to Sergio Perez then, so the Toro Rosso coming off very lucky indeed, actually. I thought the McLarens and Renaults were looking a lot stronger in that race, but of course Weber having that massive mechanical issue definitely hampered his chances there, but we're down to P4 in the championship now. Verstappen jumps us in the second Renault there as we lose points, and we're now 30, or plus 30 adrift of Hamilton compared to 15 there, so already in one race, that's a massive blow. Of course, though, I think better times are to come for us at Ferrari. We're still yet to have a car that can outright fight for a podium or a race win, so just going to make the most of it. Just one of these races where I definitely didn't make the most of it and didn't make the most of my good luck and good strategy, basically. It could have been P4. In the end, it's just P8. In the Constructors, we're still P4, though, as we're kind of in no man's land, actually, ahead of the rest of the midfield, of Toro Rosso, Alpha, Williams, and Racing Point there, and McLaren continue to try and chase after Renault and Mercedes, as Renault continue to be decently consistent there to top the championship then. So at the end of this episode, ahead of the British Grand Prix, like I said, hoping for better times there at our home GP. In lieu of that, and also the high-speed nature of that circuit, I'm going to go for 2 minor downforce upgrades on the front and the rear. Unfortunately, that leaves us with just not enough R&D points to purchase any other upgrades. So just 2 more minors for next episode, but just we're going to just keep chipping away at the upgrades basically as everyone else starts to plateau, because of course diminished returns as everyone gets to the point of where they're nearly maxing out their car. We can just continue to gain a bit more than them every episode, but definitely an episode to maybe forget about in terms of that mistake there. We move on to Silverstone next time out, but nonetheless it was still a very entertaining race, so hopefully you guys enjoyed that, and if you did, be sure to smash that like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you are new around here, subscribe for weekly full-on content. I've been aarava. Have a good day. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.